What's happening, y'all? Okay, man. Let's I don't expect the room to fill up too much simply because it's Thursday night. It's late and uh yeah, it's a late one. But I was going to come on here and I was going to just talk about something else, but I this just I just came across this. So the headline or the title of this reads that Barry Morphew speaks out. We're going to get into the article that I have here in front of me. We're going to talk about it a little bit. First, I'm going to say hello to everybody. What's up, Dawn Marie? It's good to see you. Susie Pops, Sandra Miller, Lauren Elizabeth, Hattie Lou Smith. All right. Cherokee Girl 45. And yeah, man, we're so this case is a fucking circus, dude. Like, and I'm not gonna get too deep into that because, as you guys know, for those of you who follow Critical K, you know that I'm frequently on her panel after she goes over everything that she wants to go over, and then we just kind of discuss things. But if you're familiar with what she's been doing, then you will know that what I'm about to get into, she has a lot of opinions on. So I'll leave that real juicy stuff to her. I have my opinions on it, but I'd rather hear her talk about it than myself, to be perfectly honest. But this right now, we're just going to go over what he said. I barely read the article myself. And before I continue, I want to make a couple of things clear. The last live that I did was on the Layla Cavett case, or Leela Cavett, however you pronounce it. I'm not sure. No disrespect to her. It's just, I'm just not sure how to pronounce her name. But hey, Marissa Anderson, how we doing? Jesse Jarrett, how's it going? But what I did was I went over the affidavit, Shannon Ryan's arrest affidavit, and I got a couple of things off. I got a couple of things wrong, and I want to go ahead and take a second to correct them. Which we all already know, but I want to acknowledge the fact that I made a couple of mistakes. And I appreciate a lot of people were really nice and left comments and very respectful comments correcting me, and I appreciate that. Those are always welcome, so I appreciate those of you who went ahead and did that and helped me out, because I do want to make sure that the right information is out there. And this is why I interact with you guys. Because I have that advantage to where you guys, a lot of you are a lot more well informed than I am on a lot of certain details, and and I just get up here and talk about this stuff. So I want to say that I'm grateful to you for your feedback. One of those things was that the kidnapping charge for Shannon Ryan was for Leela or Layla. It was actually for Camden. But the reason why I wasn't sure about that, the reason why I didn't even consider that, was because Camden is found. He's safe. He was found wandering around. Now, I know that the surveillance cameras caught Shannon's car near the area, but at no point did it say that there was surveillance of Shannon dropping off Camden, or abandoning Camden, I should say. There's no, I mean, do I think he did that? Yeah, absolutely. The cameras put him there. But what I'm saying is, I didn't put that together. I assumed, and that's my own fault for assuming. I'm not perfect, and far from it, to be perfectly honest, especially when it comes to this true crime thing. It's just something that interests me, and I like talking about it, and I like talking about it with you guys. So Yeah. So there's that. And there was one other thing that I can't think of right off the bat right now. Um, there was another thing. I, I I went back. I was looking at the chat, and I heard myself say that that toys that the FBI found toys and whatnot, and the pants that Layla was wearing. That's not true. At least that's not what the affidavit says. What the affidavit says is that the employees of the racetrack reported that they saw these things in the dumpster. Now, we know anybody who's been following this case knows that Layla has that the FBI has taken the dumpsters from the racetrack. So if I had to guess, as far as if I'm gonna speculate here, I'm gonna speculate that they're looking for any type of evidence in there. So you know, as far as we know so far, we know that a body was found not far from that racetrack at another racetrack in a car. I don't know. We still don't know. There's no identity on that girl. We also know that there was another missing girl that went missing a while back, and she belonged to the same Facebook group as Shannon and as well as Layla. So that's a little telling, but that could just be a coincidence. We don't know yet. But I just wanted to clear up those couple of things. But and the last thing was, I said that that Shannon used Leela's debit card to purchase the garbage bags and the disinfectant or the deodorizer or whatever. That's not true. He used his girlfriend's, but they have the same initials, just switched, and my dyslexia got the better of me, and and I got confused when I read that. So that again is my fault. I apologize to you. And again, there's a lot of other really, really good true crime creators that are covering this case very thoroughly. The one I recommend most right now would be Critical K. She's been very, very deep into it. So I would recommend listening to her and what she's been doing with that case. Hey, that girl, what's up? So on to Mr. Barry Morphew speaking to Miss Lauren from Fox. What is it? I don't know. Fox 21. So, okay, this is actually live. So I'm going to go ahead and share this.
Suzanne's father, her only living parent. You can hear that entire conversation right now on fox21news.com.
Did I miss it?
Reached out to the Chief County Sheriff for his response to my conversation with Barry, but he did not get back to me despite my efforts. It's been more than a month since a press release with a statement or an update from the sheriff has been sent. Emily? We're tracking the heat across southern Colorado. The pollen numbers, if you're allergic to wheat pollen, might be an issue for you as well. This is brought to you by Aspen Allergy.
Looks like we missed that, but I think, can I rewind that maybe? I know it's live.
We'll be talking about your forecast after the break.
Let high west siding and windows help.
All right, I'm just going to mute this bullshit. So, all right, so I'm just going to go ahead and go over this article here. What's up, Save Robbie? How we doing, bud? All right, so I'm going to kind of just breeze through this article here until we get to the stuff. So apparently Barry spoke over the phone exclusively to Miss Lauren Scharf. So apparently this conversation took 25 minutes, and Barry according to this article, theorized over what may have happened to his wife. He mentioned the possibility of an animal attack, an accident, perhaps with someone on the road, or even, he said, a run-in with someone who knows her well. So it says here that he declined an in-person interview and said he did not want a recording of the call to be aired. So if this Lauren person has any ethics whatsoever, I'm going to assume that we're not going to hear that conversation. But I've got a feeling it's probably going to end up getting leaked, to be perfectly honest. I don't give this woman much credit, to be perfectly honest, because you guys know how I feel about that. Again, I'll let you guys listen to Kay's take on all that, because she's been very, very involved, I should say. So this goes on to say, we don't know why God does what he does, Barry told Scharf, but we have to trust him. And over the phone, Barry said unfair coverage of his wife's disappearance has painted him in a bad light and convinced him to stay silent. See, I don't understand that. This Lauren person is one of the people that is directly responsible for painting him into a bad light, and involving herself with YouTubers. And that's, okay. But these YouTubers clearly have an agenda, and these YouTubers are clearly very, very responsible for painting Barry into somebody who's guilty of a crime that we don't even know took place yet. So to me, that's just, again, irresponsible. But he says over the phone, let's see, Barry said unfair coverage of his wife's painted in a bad light. I'm afraid of what is out there, he said. People don't know the truth, so they're going to think what they're going to think. I mean, yeah. Yeah. So it says here, Juliet Fitzgibbons, an avid biker from Denver who decided to drive out for a ride in this Salida area, has doubts. I don't know why the husband won't speak out, right? Fitzgibbons said. Any info is good info if you're trying to find out what happened to the mother of your children. Okay, look, man, I'm going to explain something to you real quick before I continue with this. First of all, why he's not speaking out is probably under the advice of his legal counsel. Also, probably law enforcement as well, for all we know. We don't know why he's not speaking out, but also it's just plain dumb, to be perfectly honest. The fact that he even, I'm surprised. I'm personally surprised at the fact that he even spoke to this person, especially her painting him in the light that she's been painting him. So to me, that just sounds, weird to me that he would even do that. For a guy who I pegged as being very smart, I'm not seeing that particular move as being very smart, to be perfectly honest. I don't get it. So why if somebody is dead set on getting ratings and building themselves up off of trashing your name, why would you agree to speak with this person? And why would you, again, here's another thing. Again, guys, I'm thinking out loud. Okay. I'm thinking out loud here because I just came across this thing. This is just as fresh to me as it is to you. So, but I'm thinking, why would he speak and say, I don't want the recording of this conversation aired? where it would actually give her an opportunity to write his word into whatever context she chooses, whatever context fits the narrative that she's trying to put out there. Why would you agree to that? That doesn't make any sense to me. If I'm talking to Barry directly, I'm going, dude, what are you doing? If I'm his lawyer, I'm going, what the fuck did you just do, dude? Shut the fuck up. I mean, it blows my mind, man. So I'm gonna keep reading here. Hold on. I gotta find it. There we go. No, that's not. All right, so I actually missed seeing the ribbon, she said. I wish there was a bigger memorial here. And that's another thing. Isn't it weird that they never had like a visual for her in the area? A vigil? I find that a little weird. All right, so Barry goes on to say, this is the most devastating thing that has ever happened to me. But I have got to keep my faith and trust in God. And Suzanne trusted the Lord. And if one person got saved from this, she would think it was worth it. And we are just a godly, loving, caring family. And this thing is just a tragedy. I mean, let's see. It says here that CBI agents asked Barry to take a polygraph test on 2 separate occasions, and each time he turned them down. Well, yeah, I've already gone over that. I'm going to turn down polygraph tests in a situation like this. You'd be an idiot to take a polygraph test, in my personal opinion. Other people might feel differently. I sure as hell would not take a polygraph test. Those things are... And his response to that here is, I've never been asked to do a polygraph. There is nothing that I am hiding. I have given 30 hours of testimonies to the FBI and the CBI. I've answered every question, every single question. And it says here, Dan Corsentino, a private investigator in Pueblo, said it is possible those agencies did not ask Barry Morphew to take a polygraph. He also said it could be reasonable for an innocent person to deny the test. Well, yeah. And so what he says here is investigators may offer a polygraph only to have a subject or the person of interest refuse it based on legal advice, knowing the polygraph is not admissible in a courtroom. So therefore, what is the use of taking it? Exactly. So let's see here. What else does it say? It was only because I didn't know the time that I did something, a mechanical thing to my Bobcat. He said I was confused. Okay, hold on. I want to read what happened before here. Investigators start with the people closest to the alleged victim in the case. Right. Investigators always start with the people closest to the alleged victim in the case. This is still that private investigator speaking. Barry did admit an inconsistency. I'm not even drinking. In one timeline he provided to investigators. It was only because I didn't know the time that I had did something. Of course. A mechanical thing to my Bobcat. He said I was confused and I just found out my wife was missing and I was a little bit not in my right mind when they were asking me these questions. But I did the best I could and I answered everything. I never once declined an interview. Regardless of what others may think, Barry said a big concern of his is the way in which the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office has handled the investigation. He says about that, the Sheriff's Department screwed this whole thing up from the beginning, and now they are trying to cover it up and blame it on me, he said. He went on to cite an incident he found particularly troubling, which occurred, he said, when deputies found his wife's bike. My buddy was there right after that, and he said that they completely destroyed the evidence, and he tried to stop them, but they wouldn't listen to him and said, "This is not CSI." Barry said, "There's no evidence for the investigators to see because the sheriff's department completely obliterated it." Wow. As the phone call between Barry and Fox 21 reached its end, Morphew said he and his daughters are holding on to the hope that Suzanne is alive and will be found safe. And of course, there's still the $200,000 reward leading to Suzanne's safe return. No questions asked. So, all right. I don't know. I mean, did anybody... I didn't hear a damn thing in that. I didn't read a damn thing in that tells me that this guy has something to hide. He had a reasonable answer for everything. What he sounded like to me so far is a guy who misses his wife and is just trying to keep his life together, despite the absence of his wife and the circumstances surrounding her absence. That's what that tells me. I'm not reading the words of a man who feels as though he's scared that he doesn't even seem scared that people are looking at him. He doesn't even seem nervous about that. Now, how do I know that? That there's two sides to that coin of not having your voice recorded and played, right? There's two sides to that. There's two sides to that coin. And one of those sides is, I don't know what to make of that. The words seem perfectly intact. The words seem perfectly consistent with a man who misses his wife and is trying to keep his family functioning. But I'm not hearing anything. I don't have a voice to put to it. But here's the thing about that, though. Even if I did, would that prove anything? Would that really be telling in any way whatsoever? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no because I don't know that dude. I've never met that dude. I've never hung out with that dude. I don't have a frame of reference to compare what I'm hearing to. Right? And I keep seeing, I hate true crime groups. I hate them. But somehow Kay always manages to suck me into hers. I don't know how. She's good at that. But but so far it's been cool. This time around, so far it's been all right. It's been cool. But here I am in this Morphew group, and I'm not going to share screenshots or anything. It's a closed group, and I'm not trying to put anybody's name out there, but there's people in these groups, as always, that I like to refer to as pitchforkers, right? People that have already got Barry tried and convicted, and it's over, right? I love it. There was one dipshit who was sitting there and dropping GIFs, and one of them was of a clock with the thing going, and it was going tick tock, like implying that it's just a matter of time before Barry is arrested, because what's going on right now apparently is that the police, the reason why they haven't arrested Barry specifically, not made an arrest, not that, no, not generally, It's why they haven't arrested Barry specifically is because they're gathering evidence. It takes time to gather evidence. Now, all of a sudden, the pitchforkers want to jump on that and use that same argument that I'm always, throwing at people. It takes time to collect evidence. Well, now they want to use that to their advantage because the police don't have jack shit so far as we know. But as far as we know, law enforcement has dick on the whereabouts of Suzanne. But to the pitchforkers, that translates to they're just gathering evidence. They're gathering evidence. And it takes a little bit of time to build a case against Barry. Like, to me, that's fucking, come on, man. You don't have anything. You don't have anything to indicate that that's the case. I was sitting there. There was another pitchforker that I was debating with in this group. And she's sitting there going, oh, well, circumstantial. There's all kinds of circumstantial evidence that circumstantial evidence gets thrown out all the time because it's circumstantial. Circumstantial evidence. And now I'm not a lawyer. I don't know, but the way that circumstantial evidence is defined in my mind, and the reason why it doesn't work in a courtroom is because there's always an explanation. There's doubt. Circumstantial evidence comes with doubt. And the purpose, the state's entire job is to prove that the person on trial committed a crime beyond a reasonable doubt. So when there's something that's circumstantial, that tells me that there is a circumstance that comes with it that could provide that other explanations. Other explanations could come with that evidence besides what you're trying to paint it out to be. That's what that tells me. Again, I'm not the most educated guy in the world. Far from it. But I know that the state's job is to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. It's not the defense's job to counterprove. It's not the defense's job to prove innocence. It is the state's job to prove guilt. Plain and simple. Done and done. And when you have all these things that we know about Barry Morphew so far, it's all circumstantial. If I could sit here, I would welcome somebody to come on here. But if I can sit there for all the things that you want to argue and tell me is evidence, I could sit here and come up with some reason why it's not. And I'm not even a lawyer. You don't think that Barry Morphew's well-paid legal counsel can do that? Because if I can do it, I know they can do it. There's nothing right now out there so far that tells me that Barry Morphew is responsible for his wife's disappearance. Not yet. I mean, you're hearing this guy, like, the private investigator. Is so funny because this news reporter, Lauren, is supposedly she's built a reputation so far as this case goes of someone who has been trying to paint Barry into a light that he is guilty and hiding something. But all that showed me was the contrary. I mean, honestly, that's all that showed me, to be perfectly honest. All right, we're going to move on. We're going to talk a little bit about Shannon Ryan. before I do that, I am going to play. I'm going to play a news clip here.
We've been following Leila Kavit vanishing last month, and her toddler son, of course, found wandering alone in Miramar.
Local 10's Alex Finney is live in Hollywood, where police are taking away a dumpster. Alex, tell us what's going on there.
Well, Janice and Christy, that just wrapped a few minutes ago before we went live. You're about to see that video in one moment. But in addition to that, we know that the FBI is now offering a $10,000 reward for anyone that has information that can lead to Leila Kavit. The FBI seen going through the dumpster area behind the racetrack and taking pictures. 2 dumpsters have been loaded onto 2 flatbeds covered with tarps. Is this connected to the Leila Kavit case? We are working to confirm.
We went to Pollo Tropical in Fort Lauderdale.
What we do know is Shannon, the man who claimed to be the last person to see Leila, was arrested on a kidnapping charge. And in his criminal complaint, it says he was on his phone searching the Hollywood commercial garbage pickup dates. We also heard from investigators that a gas station employee told detectives that they recalled Ryan using the racetrack dumpster and noticed children's toys and women's clothes inside. Meanwhile, the FBI releasing new surveillance from this Hollywood racetrack, the last known images of Leila before she went missing on July 25th. According to the FBI, here's her white Chevy pickup truck that afternoon. She's seen later getting out of this Lexus sedan, and the last image is of her inside the gas station around 10:15 p.m. And she has not been seen or heard from since. We have been covering this story extensively. More on that on local10.com. But in the meantime, if you have any information whatsoever can be helpful right now, make sure you give the FBI a call. That number is 1-800-CALL-FBI. Again, 1-800-CALL-FBI. For now, live in Hollywood, Alex Finney, Local 10 News.
All right, so yeah, we've got this dude Shannon Ryan is a character, man. He is out there, dude. Let's let's be honest here. This is a guy who fancies himself a witch, right? And he believes that he picks up on people's frequencies and their vibrations. And according to him, he claims that a car full of people picked up Leila and he never saw her again. But yeah, I'm having a hard time with that, considering all the evidence that they seem to have against him so far. He's definitely lying. I definitely believe that he is responsible for abandoning Camden. And here's the thing, though. Do I think he's a bad dude? I think he's got bad shit stirring up in him. That's the vibe I get from him. That's the frequency I get from him. But I think that I definitely think that he's struggling with some demons for sure. And he does have a record. And I'm looking at his record here, at least his Alabama booking details. He has, let's see, he has some sentences here. So in 2004, there's a burglary sentence and a possession of marijuana sentence. And the burglary, he got 15 years and 2 years. for the marijuana. So 15 years for burglary, that sounds pretty steep, man. That sounds kind of crazy. Maybe I'm reading this wrong. I don't know. And then the next month, was he arrested at the same time? But it's just, yeah, maybe two different court dates. I don't know. But the next month, the following month, literally, he's got a possession of controlled substance, 2 years, and fail to attach stamp on marijuana, 2 years. I don't know what that means. And then another possession of marijuana charge. So I mean, so the guy, he's very vocal about the fact that he smokes weed. There's no question about that. He's very open about the fact that he smokes weed. But possession of a controlled substance, I don't know if that's a different charge. Maybe that's, I don't know if it's a different drug. Maybe, I don't know if he had meth or something like that on him. I don't know. But in February of 2012, he's got an unlawful breaking and entering into a vehicle. He's got 2 of those, actually. And then in 2016, he's got a burglary 3 charge. So here's the thing about that, though. None of this stuff is violent. He doesn't have any violent charges at all. Does anybody find that odd? Considering all the hoopla around what's going on here. Now, again, all it takes is one time. You know, I mean, maybe he's been violent before and he never got caught. That's a possibility. But if we're judging this man on his felony record, well, there's nothing in there that pertains to violence. There's nothing in there to indicate that he's a violent person. So with that right there should be dismissed out of anybody's mind when they are trying to decide for themselves whether or not this man is guilty of hurting anyone, specifically Layla, or and I feel bad because I just came across I can't remember the other girl's name that went missing that's connected to Shannon Ryan. So I feel really guilty about that, actually, because she is a victim and I feel bad about that. George Wimmer here is saying that he has been violent. Okay, well, I mean, I'm not saying that he hasn't. And I don't know who John Schmidt is, my man. But no, see, that's the thing. There's no charges for it, is my point. There's no charges for it so far. He's not even charged with anything yet regarding this case. We need to keep that in mind, people. It's quite possible that he just maybe had something to do with it. It's possible he had nothing to do with it. Still, it's possible. But I'm going to go ahead and venture to guess that he did. But I'm not sure. The thing is it's possible that he might just have played a hand in something that happened to her, not necessarily being directly responsible. Could be that he's lying to protect someone. Could be that he's lying to protect himself. Could be that he's lying to protect himself from the people that are responsible. So oh yeah, okay, George, you're thinking that I'm still talking about Barry Morphew. I'm no longer talking about Barry Morphew right now. I the conclusion that I came to after that interview is we're exactly where we were before that interview as far as Barry Morphew goes. I don't think that we're anywhere near that. So as far as Shannon Ryan goes, I just simply don't. I don't know. I think he's a weird guy. I think that he's I think that he definitely knows more than what he's leading on. I think he's a piece of shit for abandoning Camden. But I don't know. We don't know. Now, he was seen in front of the dumpsters that were taken away by the FBI today. So I think it's safe to say that the same thing that people are saying about now, people are probably sitting there going, well, why hasn't he been charged with murder yet? Why hasn't he been charged with kidnapping Layla? Why hasn't he been charged with any of these things? Well, this is one of those cases where it makes sense to say that they are simply building a case against him. He is in custody currently, and they're holding him, and they have enough to hold him and not let him go. So what's happening right now is, yes, they are I'm guessing that they are gathering as much evidence as they can in order to make an airtight case, in order to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this man is responsible for whatever took place regarding Layla Cavett. So, yes, I agree with you. I thank God the child is alive. Thank God that Camden is alive. Absolutely. But yeah, Mandy Bella, there's definitely something off about this guy right here. These cases get to me, man. They get to me on a level where I don't understand. You know why these cases are hard for us to figure out? For the most part, my theory on that, why it's hard for us to figure them out and to make sense of what happened, is because we can't make sense of someone doing these things that happen to these people. I can't make sense that somebody is capable of these things still to this day. I'm aware. I get it. I'm aware of the fact that these things take place in our society, but I still to this day have no idea what could drive someone to do something this horrible. I can't relate to it. And I think the reason why we all have this hard time with it is because none of us can relate to it. None of us can put ourselves in the place of a person capable of brutally murdering an 11-year-old child such as Gannon Stock. Nobody can put ourselves in the place of someone who was unhappy in his marriage, but didn't have the guts to speak up to his wife, and then had an affair behind her back, and then for some reason thought the best way to handle that situation was to suffocate his own 2 small little girls and his wife. And exactly, loving life at home, that's exactly why, because we don't think that way. And I think that we take such an interest in it is because the reason why we take such an interest is because we want to understand it. We want to understand it so that at some point, hopefully there's an answer and we can somehow at least slow it down. You're never going to stop human nature. Murder has been happening since the beginning of time and will go on till the end of time. And the end of time will probably be, ironically, a mass act of murder. So this is something that we're never going to change. But the people that we pride ourselves in being, I believe, are people that just want to live in a peaceful society and not have to worry about that happening. Realistically, we're never going to stop it from happening, but we can we can at least try to understand it so that we can somehow pump the brakes on it to some degree. We can spot these people quicker, maybe. And yeah, Heidi Lou Smith, you're right. People are wired differently. They just are. People are wired differently. But see, at the same time, though, guys, a lot of these killers, they seem to be wired very similarly. There seems to be a lot of things in common that they tend to have. They tend to have rough childhoods. They tend to have inferiority complexes, insecurities, and very similar ones too. This happens quite often, right? When we follow these cases and we try to break down who these people are, and we start looking into their past, it's usually familiar ground, is it not? But here we are, and we find familiar ground almost all the time. Now, I don't know what's going on with Shannon Ryan. I don't know what his childhood was like. I know that he did prison time. He clearly did prison time. And he was around. Now, that's the thing. They stick you in prison. You got people over here that are in for drug possession, people over here that are in for drug trafficking, people over there that are there for human trafficking. There are people over there that are there for rape, people over back there that are there for murder, multiple murders, multiple homicides. I mean, you're bunking with who knows? Your cellmate could be a mass murderer, or could be somebody who stole a candy bar and decided to punch a cop in the face because they were high on drugs. Who knows? And you're not necessarily with bad people. I know good-hearted people that have been to prison, but you're not necessarily with bad people. Now, you are with some bad people, sure. Right? But what does prison do to somebody? Because again, I don't know. We don't know if Shannon Ryan was violent. Now, I went over this stuff and talked about him prior, and he's definitely somebody that seems to me like he's constantly struggling to control his temper. He's made it part of his persona. The whole meditation and feeling zen. That's, that right there is somebody who I used to be this guy, but now I'm this guy. Like, no, man, you're still that guy you used to be. You just found a way to hide it better. But I can see it, man. When I watch this guy's videos, man, when I read his posts, I can see it. This guy is angry. But being angry isn't a crime. It's just not a crime. How you handle your anger can be, but it's not a crime. And he has yet to be charged with a crime that involves him losing his temper in a physical manner. So we don't even really know if he's capable of violence. Now, I think to some degree, we're all capable of violence. I think everybody has a boiling point. Everybody does. As we get older, we just learn how to control it better. There's not a person in this chat that didn't have a temper tantrum as a child. What happens is we get older, we learn to control it better. And the best way that I learned how to control it was to face the things that make me angry in my head, and then rationally, kind of take inventory of them and be like, okay, well, this is what I have control over, and this is what I don't have any control over. And the stuff that I don't have any control over makes no sense to worry about, makes no sense to be angry about. It's time to let it go. And that is a process. I'm not going to lie to you people. I'm not going to lie to any of you. That is a process that takes time. For me, it did. For me, it took a lot of time to sit here and to sit there and come up with some sort of method, some sort of and that's what Glare is. I had to sit there. It was like, if I don't do something right now, I'm headed for the grave. That's just, there's nowhere else to go from here except underground. There's nowhere else. So I need to do something now. And then I came up with that plan. Gratitude, logic, awareness, acceptance, accountability, rationality, empathy, resilience. It was very, very important that I apply those things to my everyday decision making. It was important. And having done that, it made things a lot easier. It made putting things that mattered versus things that don't matter into perspective. But you can't, I can't expect anyone to sit there and just, okay, that's it. Like I said, it takes time. But I could sit here all day and be like, you know what? I'm just going to meditate. No, man, that's not going to cut it. You've got to face the fact that at some point you were a douchebag, and that when you were around people that are close to you, people that you love, people that love you, probably couldn't stand being around you. I mean, think about it. We all, when we walk into a room, every single one of us, when we walk into a room, we just assume that everyone likes us. We don't sit there and think about whether or not these people are trash talking us all day behind our backs. But if they are, and if you are worried about that, here's how you handle that. Well, do they have a reason to trash talk you? Have you been dishonest with them? Have you been a dick to them? Have you been in any way unfair to those people? And that inevitably puts me in a position to where I go, you know what? If I did, then I need to take inventory of what I possibly did and take the steps to change that. And if I didn't, well, fuck them. If they're the type of people to pass judgment on me based on some shit they're making up in their own head, knowing that when I know that I've done everything I can to be as kind and as empathetic and respectful towards them as I possibly can, well, whatever they're dealing with is their problem. It puts me in a position to where I can honestly say, your problem with me is exactly that. It's your problem. But see, I don't think that this guy, I get the impression that Shannon Ryan is the kind of guy that makes excuses for everything that he does. I think that he's the kind of guy that will point fingers and blame someone else for whatever's happening in his life. The most liberated that I ever felt in my life was the day that I decided to start taking accountability for literally everything. Even if somebody does something malicious towards me, it's my own fault for having poor judgment of putting myself around them or putting myself in a position for them to judge me. It's my own fault. I should have used better judgment. Every little thing that happens to you, every grand or minor thing that happens to you can be traced back to a decision that you made, period. That is literally anything that happens to you in your life. Aside from the obviously uncontrollable things like a parent or family member dying. You know, I'm not trying to be unreasonable here, but I'm saying when it comes to a fallout between you and another person, I guarantee you had just as much to do with that as they did. Even if it's something as minor as I should have read their personality better. And I don't get that vibe from this Shannon Ryan guy, man. I don't get that vibe at all from him. I get the vibe from this guy that, you know, if you're not on my wavelength, if you're not on if you're not on board with the little world that I've created and surrounded myself with and put myself in the center of, if you somehow disrupt that in any way whatsoever, what he's saying is he's scared of that. When he sits there and says, you don't know who you're messing with, I'm a witch, and there's a whole coven of people that are following me. You're messing with a whole coven of witches. That's an irrational thing that he's throwing out as a threat because the poor guy has nothing else. He's got nothing else. I see this big guy, a scary guy. Don't get me wrong. I said this, I think, in my last live stream that I did. I see a guy that I'm going to be scared of if I run into him face to face. Part of the reason why is because he's an irrational guy. You can tell that anything's going to set him off. And I'm the kind of guy that I can't keep my mouth shut. If I'm in your face and you're sitting there not making sense, I'm going to go, dude, you're really not making a lot of sense. I might be like, hey, I don't want to offend you or anything, but there's no way I can keep my mouth shut around something like that. I'd be totally afraid that this guy's going to fly off the handle and beat the shit out of me. You know? So to me, it's not, even though he doesn't have violent charges in his past, I see a guy very, very capable of losing his temper and being capable of just about anything and letting his temper take over. And then being the type to say, look what you did. Look what you did to me. Look what you made me do. Not, shit, I know better than that. I've got to chill out. But I see a guy going, look what you made me do. The whole video that he made, that hour-long video, was just him blaming her. That whole hour-long video was just him blaming Layla of all kinds of things. Being a bad mom. Using drugs. Stealing from him. And again, I've talked about this on live streams before. I talked about victimization, right? And I talked about abusive people. I've talked about people who are with abusive personalities, and it's always the same thing. That right there exhibits the behavior of a guy with an abusive personality. I'm not saying he is. I'm saying that he exhibits the behavior of one. That could just be a coincidence. But I see a guy that is on the hot seat, and he sees himself on the hot seat. So he pulls a Letitia Stock and starts blasting all over social media. And then on top of it, after threatening anyone who questions his word with hexes, after threatening everyone, he taunts the FBI. He taunts them. And then he makes up an FBI agent and sends, either has a friend or somebody send texts and calls himself Agent Willie, which holds about as much water to me as Eduardo. And Eduardo being this imaginary dude that Letitia Stock made up, saying that he sexually assaulted her in front of Gannon. That was her wild story. But now I'm seeing like, but then he's got Agent Willie and makes up this whole thing, some crazy conversation. Who's what FBI agent is going to call himself Agent Willie? I mean, I'm going to be I'm going to want to be taken seriously, man. I'm going to be I'm going to want to be taken seriously if I'm an FBI agent, and I'll at least, you know, go by my last name. You know what I'm saying? I'll be like, I'm Agent Johnson, right? Not Agent Willie. Agent Toby. Texting with Agent Toby. No, dude. Come on, man. Like, why would you think that we'd all believe that? I don't know, man. So people, this guy's definitely inconsistent with the things that he's saying. And I'm definitely not feeling anything coming from his side. Not at all. You know, I think that there's a good reason why the FBI has him in custody. And I think we're going to find out a lot more. I think at some point he's going to talk and he's going to say a lot more. But this guy right now is definitely not somebody who is exhibiting the behavior of someone who, and at no point has he even expressed or even tried to convince us that he cares about her. There's no indication of that. There's no indication that he's even worried about her whereabouts. All he did was make her out. He painted her. He painted the picture of her to be a freeloading junkie who was just a mouth to feed and somebody that was just a burden to him at all times. Which what it does is it creates motive, man. It creates motive in our minds. So at no point is he like, oh man, you know, she's my friend and I'm worried about her and I miss her. He's like, she's just some junkie that was crashing in my house and I was getting disgusted with the fact that she was treating her kid the way that she did. With no solutions as to, like, you know, he didn't at any point say, well, I tried to do this with the kid and I tried to do that with the kid. No, it was just, I watched her do this and I watched her do that. And I was like, damn. So this dude is not, there's nothing noble about this guy. That were, you know, him giving her a place to stay doesn't speak nobility to me at all. Whether or not that's even true is besides the point. The fact that he, you know, opened his door to her, I mean, and why would a guy like that do that? And what door? As far as I know, he's living out of his car. What? Where are they staying? So, I mean, none of this shit. I mean, and maybe I'm missing details, man. I don't know. I tend to do that from time to time. But I can't. I look as far as I mean, you look at, since I'm talking about both cases on this live, neither case is comparable, right? You have the Morphew case, and then you have this case. And the Morphew case, there's a husband who's on the hot seat, and there's literally nothing connecting him to the situation. And according to him, the police destroyed evidence at a scene where her bike was found. According to Barry Morphew, they destroyed evidence. And now, since they destroyed the only evidence that could have led to any answers regarding Suzanne's whereabouts, they decided to focus on him. I mean, that right there, putting that out there makes sense to me now that I'm thinking about it, now that I'm thinking out loud. Putting that out there makes sense to me as to why he would talk to a reporter. But would I advise it still? Fuck no. Shut the fuck up, dude. Stop talking. Don't talk to nobody. Let your lawyers handle it. Like, what are you doing? But I'm saying that I can see why he would do it, though. I can see why he would feel overwhelmed to finally, I mean, because that would be driving me crazy. You know, people online are giving this guy shit. They're harassing his friends and blasting his friends off on Twitter. Like, so anybody who's going to sit there and go, oh, well, why are you defending Barry? But you're sitting here and you're openly pretty much implying that you feel that Shannon Ryan is guilty of and knows more than what he's saying. Well, I mean, look at the two cases. Look at what we have on Shannon Ryan so far. First of all, Shannon Ryan's in custody, period. That right there. Shannon Ryan's in custody on a kidnapping charge and a lying to a federal officer charge. So you've got this guy, he's in custody, and the reason why he's in custody, we have an arrest affidavit that puts him in places that he said he wasn't. And then you've got his word basically saying that Eduardo and his buddies pulled up in a car and Layla got in the car and took off. Right? So, but everything that Barry's saying is pretty consistent. He's got an explanation for everything that they're talking about. And this reporter, if she's trying to paint him in a bad light, she's doing a terrible job as far as this particular last report goes, to be honest, because I read that, and I read the private investigator that she used as some sort of reference for information, general information. And he basically said the same thing that I've been saying this entire time, that Critical K's been saying this entire time. You're not going to fucking get on a lie detector test. A lawyer is going to tell you don't take a lie detector test because it's A, not admissible in court, and B, the reason why they're not admissible in court is because they're unreliable. So anything could happen with a lie detector test. So the fact that he declined to take 2 lie detector tests, people are saying, "Oh, well, that's suspicious." No, it's not. If it's suspicious, I would think it's suspicious if he declined any interviews with police. But according to him, 3 3-hour sessions where they grilled him. 3-hour sessions where they grilled Barry Morphew, and yet they don't have anything to arrest him. We got a total of 9 hours of grilling. They searched the property, found nothing. So what's funny is, if you, I'm going to go as far as to say this is going to piss a lot of you off, but it's the absolute 100% God to honest truth of how I feel. I am seeing more the situation, the grand scheme of things, the pan view that I have of this entire case regarding Barry Morphew, right, is consistent more to what he just said in that interview than anything else, than any crazy theories that any pitchforker has out there, that any bullshit YouTuber out there that's trying to make him out to look guilty has. I don't even know what that means, S.A. Potts. You have no proof that he's lied. You have no proof that he's lied. Look, I've already got I've got pitchforkers in my chat right now. You're saying that a 200-mile radius wasn't searched? Is that what you're implying? $400 Iraqi tours. Nobody would say that they had 400 Iraqi tours. Nobody would say that. That's impossible. I don't know what the fuck you're even talking about. Oh, I'm sorry, Marissa Anderson. See, that's why I love you guys. Thank you for that. Correction. 3 hours. 3 30-hour interviews. That sounds like an interrogation to me. That sounds like interrogation. And yet they still have nothing to pick this guy up on. And here he is saying that all I can do is pray to God. All he did was confirm what I was saying in my last live about Barry Morphew, was this guy is just trying to live his life the way that he thinks that Suzanne would want him to be living it right now. Allow law enforcement to do their jobs. But unfortunately, he doesn't have a lot of faith in law enforcement because law enforcement is breathing down his neck. And according to him, they tainted evidence. Yeah, I mean, of course he misspoke. Of course he misspoke. Nobody can do 400 tours in Iraq. They're probably, Jesus, man. Use your fucking brains, dude. Use your brains, bro. You, S.A. Potts, this asshole right here. Use your brains. Use your fucking brains. Why in the world would you think that any grown man smart enough to own his own business, much less tie his own shoes, would seriously sit there and expect people to believe that he had 400 tours in Iraq? Shit for brains. Shut the fuck up. If you're going to be in my chat, contribute something worthwhile, man. Please. I know what the fuck he said. Dude, like, I love how everybody's trying to pick everything apart. And you know what tells me, what confirms my feelings regarding this case more and more is everybody who comes up with something and has some sort of half-brained theory on what happened to Barry or what happened to Suzanne Morphew and are accusing Barry Morphew of being responsible for her disappearance, well, they always end up not making any sense at all. Consistently, every one of you dipshits ends up not making any sense at all. Like, look at where there's a semantic argument going on in my chat right now of some dumb shit that Barry said and misspoke. And it's clear that he misspoke. Why would you think, why wouldn't you come to that conclusion and you would go to the conclusion that he's a liar when everything about you're sitting there, okay, on one hand, you want to sit here and you want to convince me that he's so cold and calculated and he committed the perfect crime until law enforcement finally gets the proof they need to lock him up, right? On one hand, you're trying to convince me of that. And on the other hand, you're trying to convince me that he's stupid enough to think that I would believe that he did 400 tours in Iraq. Are you serious? Get your shit together. If you're going to sit there and you're going to accuse a man whose wife is missing, the mother of his 2 grown girls is missing, you're trying to convince me that he had something to do with it. Make some fucking sense if you're going to do it. Come in my chat with bullshit. Don't come in my chat with foolishness. Come on, man. This chat is reserved for people with common sense. Total semantics. You're having a semantic argument. You expect me to take you seriously as far as credibility, as far as your opinions go on a man, on a family man? You expect me to take your opinion seriously when you are engaging in a semantic argument over something that is fucking ridiculous to even believe, while at the same time trying to convince me that he's a criminal mastermind? Close your mouth. I know why the fuck they dug up his job site. Yeah, they do. You know what happens? They investigate people and then they exonerate them. Listen to this asshole right here. I got to read this out loud, even though you all can see it. This fucking genius in my chat right now dug up his job site for her body because they think he did it. They don't do that to innocent people, buddy. So all of a sudden, because he was suspected, in your mind, this is the brain I'm dealing with, people. Since you wanted to put yourself out there, I know, under a fucking fake profile, I'm sure, but since you want my chat to think that you have it all figured out, right? And you're calling me buddy in this condescending way. They don't do that to innocent people, buddy. Dude, they didn't find anything. You fucking moron. There's absolutely, again, nothing to indicate that Barry Morphew is guilty of a crime. He just explained to you. I just read an interview from Barry Morphew where he is saying that the police tainted evidence and now they're trying to pin everything on him. They're focused on him. They're wasting valuable time and manpower on him when they could be out looking somewhere else. No, bang, 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 kiss, kiss, 007. It's okay. It's okay that he hijacked my chat. It's okay. And how the fuck fuck do you know? I'm glad that this person is commenting because they sound more and more fucking stupid every time they fucking drop a comment in my chat. How do you know who was cleared as a suspect and who wasn't? How do you know? Are you law enforcement? Are you working that case? Because I guarantee you, you're not, because you sound too fucking stupid to be law enforcement. So I guarantee you that you know just as much as anybody else regarding this case, which is dick. You know nothing. Shut the fuck up. I love that shit. Police stated that nobody was cleared as a suspect. Dude, police aren't going to tell you anything on an ongoing investigation, especially Colorado law enforcement. Like, how many times have we been here? In the past 2 years, how many times have we been right here in Colorado dealing with Colorado law enforcement? How much has Colorado what type of reputation has Colorado law enforcement developed as far as sharing information with the public? Dude. Look, and I keep seeing this. This is my favorite right here. This is my favorite. I keep seeing this shit in the group too. Barry will be arrested soon. Remember this when he is. Dude, I'm not saying that again, for the stupid deaf people in the back, stupid and deaf, because you got to be both. You got to be both. For the stupid and deaf people in the back, nobody's saying that Barry Morphew is innocent. Nobody's saying that because we don't know. That's what I'm saying is we don't know. You don't know. I don't know. Nobody else knows except for Barry and whoever else may or may not have been involved. But you know dick. You don't know anything. So I'm not going to sit here and ostracize this man when he has 2 daughters that he's responsible for comforting. I'm not going to sit here and ostracize this man on my YouTube channel and make him out to be something that I have no proof to lead me to believe. The only thing that I have is the fact that his wife is missing and that statistically the spouse is usually it's not even the case that the spouse is guilty. It's the case that the fact of the matter is that the spouse is always the first person looked at. The spouse is always the person investigated first. And I went over this before. The reason why that is because it's foolish. It's common sense to actually look at the people closest to the victim. Period. You eliminate that before going any further. Like, I'm not quick to sit here and ostracize a man who I have no reason to think anything other than the fact that right now he's grieving. Why he's grieving, I don't know. Is it because he's worried about his wife? Or is it because he's worried he's going to get caught doing something? I don't know. But I'm not about to sit here and pass judgment on the latter and decide on the latter because it's more fun to do so. Because it's more entertaining. Because I want to be right. I'm not trying to solve a crime here. That's not my job. That's law enforcement's job. I'm not trying to solve a crime here. I'm trying to understand why the shit you people come across a case like this and then automatically want to like treat it like it's some sort of game. Where is your decency? Where is the decency that a common decency where you just don't accuse someone that you have no idea who they are or what their life is like of the most horrible crime that one can think of? What kind of a person are you to jump to that conclusion right off the bat because it's fucking entertaining? I mean, well, I don't understand when people just jump on that narrative and they forget that, like Renee says here, that it's these are people's lives. And even if Barry is guilty of a crime, why the fuck aren't you thinking about his daughters? Or I should word it like this: why aren't you thinking of Suzanne's daughters and what they're going through? Why can't you shut the fuck up and let law enforcement do their job? Much less, why can't you not paint this person to be the most evil person on earth when you don't have anything that indicates that? I would love for somebody to come up here and tell me, because I guarantee you know what I can do? I guarantee you that I can come up with some explanation for whatever the fuck you sit here and tell me is evidence of his guilt. I guarantee you that I can disprove that as being evidence. I guarantee it without a shadow of a doubt that I can disprove that as evidence. And if I can do it, his attorneys can do it. I challenge anybody. I don't care who you are. And I'm not even smart. I don't care who you are. Show me something that is evidence that he's guilty. Because the best thing anybody comes up with is, well, he's behaving abnormally. He's behaving abnormally. His wife's missing. I like to think that I would behave pretty abnormally as well if my wife was missing of 26 fucking years. Somebody that I raised two very accomplished young women with. You imagine how proud the two of them are to have two daughters grow up so well adjusted? That's a hell of an accomplishment, man. Why isn't this man getting any credit for that? Why is that being completely overlooked? Why is that being completely dismissed? Why aren't people looking at the fact that that is a happy home? There is nothing to indicate otherwise, other than somebody else saying otherwise. You heard somebody who claims to be close to the family say, well, they had problems. Oh, they had their problems. Yeah, believe that. They had their problems. Every family's got problems, but they had their problems. Well, yeah, every family's got fucking problems. But you know what matters? Results. Results. You know what's evidence to me? Results. Results that consist of a beautiful home, a steady income, a self-generated steady income, and 2 beautiful young women raised in a household that had a 26-year marriage as the cornerstone of it. That's evidence. That's proof. More than, well, my name's Joe Blow, and I'm here to tell you, they had their problems. It wasn't a perfect marriage. I'm going to need a little more than that. Fucking idiot. I'm going to need a little more than that. So before you come in my fucking chat, turn your brain on, right? Turn your brain on and be ready to bring me something solid. Until then, close your mouth. All right, guys, I've been on for an hour and a half. I'm not saying anything that I haven't said 100 fucking times already. But anyways, guys, we'll be doing this again this weekend. We'll hang out, and of course, any new information that I get, I may not report it accurately, but I will discuss my feelings on them. Absolutely. And I look forward to seeing what you guys have to think about that too. Anyways, guys, you have a wonderful night.